Thank you for tuning in to the Helium Radio Network. You are listening to a rebroadcast of a previously recorded show.
Welcome to the Insurance Sucks podcast. Yeah, we know it sucks, but you have to buy it, and you probably don't have the smarts to figure out what you need or where to find it. That's why you should listen to Eric and Daryl, brought to you by QuoteSavage.com.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of I Insure here on HeliumRadioNetwork.com. Today we're talking all about healthcare. We've got Natalie from N&J Consultation Group joining us for our chat. And as always, my co-pilot, Daryl, how's it going?
Oh, doing awesome, man.
And me too. And I'm looking forward to talking about healthcare. There's all kinds of cool new things that are in the news, and we're talking about healthcare all the time. So it'll be exciting to learn a little bit from Natalie and get her expertise. So we forget, Natalie, why don't we open up the mic and you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
So what I do is as basically an advisor or an independent agent. I really shop all the options in the state and help people find what's best for their health needs and their budget. So a little bit different than working for a specific company, like a Blue Cross or an Aetna, where I can only show you Blue Cross or Aetna. Being able to really depict on what somebody needs specifically with their health needs or, medications or concerns, and being able to target their specifics. So, they have coverage for what they need and not paying for anything additional.
Oh, very cool. So that must be exciting because you get to work with a bunch of different people and a bunch of different businesses. Groups.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I know, Daryl, you don't do health insurance at iInsure, and so it's great to have a different perspective, in and about and around the healthcare industry.
Oh, absolutely. And bless Natalie for working in health insurance because, wow, I did it in a past life. I hated every second of it. It seems like she enjoys it, which is fantastic. So Natalie, I'm curious. I've heard you're from New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you get down to Florida?
So I met John, my husband, at, there in Pennsylvania after, I went to school and everything. But and he said he was moving to Florida. And he said, do you want to come with me at the time? And I was like, yeah, sure. Why not? To figure it out. And there's no snow here, so that's a plus. But no, I like it here a lot. And I didn't do health insurance when I moved down here. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't even know what the word deductible meant. So, taking the exam and what have you, I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing, but let's try it out. And then getting into it, it really it blew up. It's funny because everybody that I talk to, they're like, I do life or I do auto and whatever. And they're like, I could never do health. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah. It's just terrible. But someone's got to do it. And, that's why it's best to buy health insurance from someone that does solely health insurance, because it's way more nuanced than your auto policy. Right.
So I have a quick question then. So here I thought N&J was, New Jersey. So that actually stands for Natalie and John.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, good to know.
There you go. See, there's always something hidden behind the name of a business, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So Natalie, as we get into this, my podcast name, or our podcast name is Insurance Sucks. I'm curious, what's some of the suckiest moments you've had in the industry?
Some of the suckiest moments, which I'm sure that you could attest to as well, is when, people don't want insurance or feel the need for it until obviously something happens. So, and it's hard to explain that that's not how insurance works, unfortunately. Something can't happen and then you can kind of build your policy to, your heart attack or your broken leg or whatever hospitalization that you had. So I think that is one of the suckiest things about it. Just that, they call you when something happens and then just telling them like, I can't help you at this point, or, your options are limited. If you would have called me yesterday or, last week, we could have figured it out. But, because the number one reason why people go bankrupt in America is due to medical bills. So it is, it's frustrating, I would say, in the least to do that. But especially telling somebody you can't help them after something major were to happen, or, something along those lines. I would say the second thing about, my top list of insurance sucks would be, I think we're in a day and age where everybody wants something, or wants their coverage for free, or wants everything covered at 100%. So that's also kind of frustrating too. And just the aspect of, they call you when they get a claim, or, something along those lines. And, I'm paying this much money a month. Why isn't it, why isn't it covered, or why isn't it free? Then it's just hard because I don't make the policy or decide on, they went to a doctor that didn't accept it, so that sucks.
That does suck. I feel you for every part of that. So I'm glad you brought it up. So you're here. I'm going to ask, I think I know the answer to this, but do you handle the marketplace, also known as the Obamacare marketplace? Is that something that you are into?
I show people both options. So today there's two ways to go about it. One is the public marketplace, or Obamacare, the ACA, and then the other is a more of a private option based off of health. But I do deal with the marketplace and show people that, because it is a good option for a lot of people.
See, I didn't know that. I thought I had the wrong answer in my head. I'm glad you told me that. I didn't know that. So that's, see, John, you got to start marketing that a little bit. But yeah, so that's good to know. We don't operate in a bubble here. The past 15 months, we've had COVID, people sick, things like that. How's that affected health insurance? What kind of movement have we seen? Where do you think it's going to be? And where are we going to be at in 5 years?
Yeah, the whole pandemic was horrible. People would call you, telling you that, I don't know, they're hospitalized, or so-and-so is hospitalized. And at that point, that's at the point where, if they don't have insurance, what can you do? Or who died because of it? Also all the trainings and everything that, we had to have because of it. Like, how is the testing covered? Or, what happens if I'm hospitalized for it? Am I going to have coverage for that? Is it a pre-existing, So it was really difficult, still is, to deal with for a lot of different people. But I think, it definitely opened up a lot of people's eyes to, having insurance, because a lot of people don't find value in it, especially if they don't use it often. Things just happen, we can't even breathe the air without getting sick. So I think a lot of people found value in it this year. In 5 years, I think that, I don't think anything's going to change drastically with everything going on. I think it's hard to change something drastically where there's so many people that do depend on the public marketplace that help, give them, government assistance, or, they have, coverage for their employees. So I think it's definitely something that will never be a drastic change. Maybe over time they make, little, tweaks to it here and there, but I think it'll stay the same for a while.
Okay. So that's interesting. I have a differing opinion. I think we'll see, and it's not my industry, but I think we'll see a drastic change, not necessarily the next 4 years under this current, but depending on what happens at the next election, I think could determine the future of the health insurance industry. So,
and I know this kind of sounds like a double negative or whatever. So, and I agree with you to an extent, but on the forefront for everybody to see up front, but on the back end, in my aspect of seeing like the inside of it, I don't even know if this makes sense. It won't change a lot there for how people register for it. But I guess for, government subsidies, or how things change for affordability factors of it, I don't think that will, on my end, like, it'll still be the same, showing them how to go about it. But on, the outside to everybody looking in, it'll be probably a drastic change.
I like it. Eric, I think it's time for our first break.
Yep. And when we come back, we're going to talk more with Natalie about health insurance and learning about coverages and what you can do to help yourself. But before we go to break, Natalie, do you have a website or a phone number or something like to give out where people can reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. My phone number is 727-674-5342. That's the best way to contact me, either through, call or text. And that's my preferred contact as well.
Awesome. Well, you're tuned in to Insurance Sucks here on the Helium Radio Network, and we'll be back after this short break.
Hey, Eric Remmel here, producer of the Feel Better, Move Better, Be Better podcast, and I'm here today to tell you about the amazing folks at Peaceful Warriors Wellness Center. Not only am I a producer of the show, but I'm also a client. Their staff of therapists are truly the best at what they do. Now is your chance to check them out for yourself. Go to their website, peacefulwarriorswellness.com, and click Book Now, or give them a call at 727-822-8866. Use the promo code RADIO and get $15 off your first visit. Yes, you heard me right. $15 off your first visit. Now, this is just for a limited time, and make sure to tell them that you heard about it on heliumradio.com.
Welcome back. You're tuned into Insurance Sucks here on the Helium Radio Network. And today we're talking all about healthcare coverage. So Natalie from N&J Consultation Group has joined us. Welcome, Natalie. And we're really learning a lot about healthcare. And if you, again, want to reach out to Natalie directly, Natalie, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Is my direct cell phone. And the number for that is 727-674-5342.
And for our local listeners, that's a Florida area code, but can you write coverages in states other than Florida?
Yes, absolutely. So licensed in multiple states, all around the nation. So no matter if it's, wherever, and if it's something that I can't deal with specifically, or if they're looking for something, that I don't do specifically, or that I have a business partner or a referral partner that can give them, a better option for maybe like disability insurance or something like that, I will, refer them out.
Awesome. Well, in the last segment, you were talking about, medical coverages and, the issues with a lot of people declining coverages or not having enough coverages. And one of the things you said that stuck with me was the fact that, such a high number of bankruptcies are due to medical debt, to healthcare bills. And to me, it's kind of mind blowing to think about, not paying a couple $100s a month or, even less than that a month to make sure that you have coverage, which in turn could ruin your financial future, all over just a monthly, service fee. It blows my mind that people are that indebted for lack of coverage or not enough coverage.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times people think that, it's not going to be me, or it can't happen to me, or until something does happen. I think a lot of people feel like that about certain things, myself included. But in reality of it, I think a lot of people are they think about the major things. Like, it's not going to happen to me. I'm never going to have a heart attack. I'm never going to have a stroke. I'm healthy. I'm never going to, develop a terminal disease. But, it even goes beyond that. It could be a car accident. It could be you're walking down the street and, somebody hits you, or, it could be a bunch of different things. The pandemic, for instance. There's so many things that could just come out of the blue that nobody thinks about, besides the majors. Like a blood clot, for instance. I've had experience with that where, you don't realize it until something happens. And then, you go to the hospital and you need a surgery and I don't have anything. So I don't think people really think about it in the grand scheme of things of what could happen, health-wise. They just think of like the majors right away, and it could never happen to them.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Yeah. I'll give you an example of something that's happening in my neighborhood. I watched it go down. There's a guy mowing his lawn, and he didn't see it where his sprinkler had basically buried itself into the lawn, stepped into it, twisted. I don't know what happened, but I know he was basically on crutches and with like a cast on his leg for like 6 weeks because he was mowing his lawn. So it could be literally anything. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have that coverage, and if you had to have surgery on that knee or leg, we all know surgery's a bit spendy. So
yeah, even I feel like sometimes you could stub your toe today and it could be $5,000 depending on, what they charge. But yeah, people go bankrupt over medical bills, and it could be the littlest thing, like a broken leg.
Wow.
So
Scary stuff.
So Natalie, I have a statistic in front of me that says 25 million plus people in the U.S. don't have health insurance. So for the people that don't have it, and they say, I'm going to roll the dice, what would you tell them?
I would tell them, to think about everything in the grand scheme of things. Like, we were just saying, you could be mowing your lawn, you could be, cooking, and you can cut your finger and need stitches. I mean, it could be something super little that can turn into something big, but not to really think small-minded about it, just because, it's healthcare is expensive. Medical bills are expensive. And there's sometimes that, doctors or, facilities, depending on the severity, won't even, see you or treat you until they know that basically you have insurance so they can make their money. And it's sad to think about it like that. So a lot of people do go without health insurance, whether if it's they're healthy and, it's not going to be me type thing, or they can't afford it. And touching on that, there's a lot of ways that I try to help people look into their options, whether they qualify for assistance or not. There is other ways to go about getting insurance. If you are relatively healthy, you'd get a preferred rate, and a lower deductible just because you are healthy. And a lot of people don't know that. And, you don't have to pay a mortgage payment all the time. There's a lot of different ways that we can go about it, or, applications to apply for that really kind of cut down the cost. So in a way, it's just rewarding for people that are paying, $1,200 a month to, cut it, by $300-400. That's like a raise to a lot of people.
That's not chump change, for sure. So I have two health insurance experts, one expert and then Eric. But you worked on billing, Eric. Now you work on the insurance side. One of the reasons I left health insurance completely was because of the deductibles and co-pays and co-insurance and all the different nuances. And it confuses me even this day. I think I've paid a bill at the doctor's office, I'm good. And then 2 weeks later, I get another bill saying, hey, you owe us $400 for a test that I didn't even know they ran. So between the two of you, can you kind of break down deductibles, co-insurance, out-of-pocket expense, things like that, so that people maybe have a better picture of what they're looking at? And then there's the in-market and out-of-market doctors and facilities, which is just a whole different ball of wax.
Mm-hmm. So the deductibles, a lot of people, that I talk to are, that it's frustrating because they're so high. The reason why they're so high on the market is because they accept everyone and anyone. It didn't matter if you had stage 4 cancer or had 9 strokes. So if somebody's healthy, I get it a lot that they're like, I'm never going to satisfy $8,000 a year, unless something were to happen. So, I would revert them to a whole different plan together, that they qualify based off of their health that has no deductible to satisfy. They just do a medical screening, for major things. But, for people that do, have to satisfy the deductible, it is good for people that, unfortunately are sick, because $8,000 isn't a lot of money if they have, a major treatment or something they need. Because once that's satisfied, the rest of it's covered at 100%. So if they're getting, chemo or, dialysis, they're going to hit that, sometimes even in one treatment. So then everything's covered at 100%, which is obviously great. But yeah, I think a lot of people, it is a lot of money, but in the grand scheme of things, $8,000, they're probably not going to be mad about if they have a $100,000 medical claim, so it's all about having the stop loss. So you prevent people from going bankrupt on medical bills or, what have you. The billing side of it, I think, is just frustrating in general, because it's just, a lot of people are like, well, if I go to the doctor, how much am I going to pay? Well, I don't know, because I don't know what they're going to charge for. I don't know, you're going to go there for an annual exam, but then you're going to tell them about some rash that you had. So now they're going to, bill the insurance company for a bunch of different things. So I just don't know, what it could ever be. And I think when something happens, they look back, because I tell anybody that I help, you can call me at any time and I'll be happy to help you or answer any questions for you. And usually, the call I get is, I got this bill, why wasn't it covered? So it's just, not necessarily, and they think the insurance sucks, no matter what plan that they have, but it's really, the doctor just trying to bill a lot of the times for different things that they told them that's wrong, that, insurance companies are sometimes think that are either cosmetic or, not medically necessary, or, they pay a specific benefit, but they have to satisfy deductible. So it's like a bunch of, things that correlate together that makes it suck.
Yeah, 100%. I was just thinking, when I worked in the past, I actually worked not only for a health insurance, carrier, auto insurance carrier, but I also worked on the other side, having my own medical facility where we were a specialized medical facility. We had general healthcare, like we were just, MDs, basic doctors, but we also had chiropractors and acupuncturists and we had a DO, very specific people in certain healthcare niches. One of the things I would tell anyone looking for healthcare coverage, obviously talk to an expert like Natalie and understanding, what types of coverages and plans are out there. Because if you are healthy, you don't need a high deductible and things of that nature, but also ask questions about in-network coverages and things that would be covered. So for example, most preventative and alternative wellness facilities are not covered under general health insurance policies. If you're getting a very low tier, you might not get coverage for something like chiropractic care, massage therapy, acupuncture. You have to pay a premium or get a different type of coverage for that. So if you are someone who has a very specialized type of care because you had a past injury or you have an illness or an ailment, check to make sure that type of coverage is on your health insurance plan. Talk to an expert like Natalie, because the last thing you want to do is say, oh, I go see an acupuncturist once a month. You go to your acupuncturist. If they take health insurance, they don't bill your insurance or not covered. And then you get a bill in the mail for the entire, visit. Those are things you want to try to avoid.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people too, they do, they want to go for chiropractic care, which is fine, or they want to see, like a naturopath doctor or what have you. And I think, obviously insurance has changed a lot in the past, 7 to 10 years. Insurance companies are kind of moving away from, providing benefits for things like that, or providing a full benefit for services like that, just because they do think of it as more of an elective, doctor's visit rather than, something that's medically necessary. So a lot of times, somebody will pay out of pocket for something like that. And I think that's frustrating to them, in a lot of different ways. But insurance is really for the God forbids, not the occasional doctor's visit. And yep. I know that's frustrating to a lot of people because, they're healthy, they only get their annual exam, but it's really for, if something major were to happen to, protect you that way.
Thank you for saying that.
100%.
Thank you for saying that.
Well, here's 100%. Here's an analogy I've heard over the years, and I don't know who invented it or who coined it, but I thought it was pretty interesting. I think it applies to healthcare here. So think about it as a car warranty. When you buy a car, you have to pay for brake pads, oil changes, tire rotations, the day-to-day, monthly, yearly maintenance. Exactly. That's never covered. But when your transmission goes, that's your extended warranty. That's the stuff you pay the coverage for.
Exactly. It's the same thing, with health insurance. It's to compare it to the car. It's not for the oil change or, to get your tires rotated. It's for, the major things if that were to happen. And I think a lot of people just have to, kind of put that into perspective. Some people think that it's a waste of money because they're not going to use it. But then at one time that it's just like a double-edged sword, conversation altogether.
And for the record, we are not advocating that when the person calls you to talk about your car's extended warranty, that you actually take them up on it. Don't do that. All right.
That's funny. So I guess we're almost out of time here for today. We got a few minutes left. And in closing, did you have any other tips or advice that you would recommend, Natalie, for anyone out there that could be looking for health insurance or looking to change their health insurance?
I definitely would say, even if, there's a lot of different things that we could do today. So if there's something that you have questions about or, you're unsure of, not to just assume that, that this is just the way it is because of whatever. There's a lot of times that, people make mistakes. There's, human error, with billing and coding, and, sometimes you get a bill that's, just not right. And that's with anything today. So I think if anybody has any questions about, their policy, rather than to, kind of read through all the literature they send you, because that's confusing in itself, just to ask, not really to research online for it, because a lot of people really just go online to just put a bad review about anything and anything, or to talk about how their policy works. But really every policy is different. There's something different about each one. I mean, unless you had a whole company on one employer plan, but I mean, every policy is different. So not to just assume, or not to be like, well, my sister's brother's cousin's plan is this way, why is it mine that way? It doesn't work that way. So just to ask, and do a policy review with somebody that, is licensed or knows what they're, knows how to explain it to you, and not talk to somebody who does, property and casualty insurance to look at your health coverage plan.
Yeah, please don't do that. We don't know what we're doing.
Good advice.
And vice versa.
Well, I'd also say, kind of like what Daryl touched on in our past episode, maybe looking at your policy once a year. If your life situation has changed, like maybe you have a kid, maybe you get married, maybe you get divorced, check on your policy frequently when those life changes come into play, so that you can make sure you have the best policy and the best coverages.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for joining us. I hope you can come back for future episodes where we can talk more about health insurance. Again, yes. Natalie, if someone wants to learn more about you or N&J Consultation Group, what's the best way to reach out to you?
Would be my direct cell phone number, 727-674-5342.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. We really appreciate you being here on Insurance Sucks. It's been another informative episode, learning all about healthcare. So until next time, I'm Eric.
I'm Daryl.
And we'll catch you on Insurance Sucks. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Helium Radio. The views expressed by show hosts or their guests are their own and should not be construed in any way as advice from Helium Radio. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our website. Personal perspectives expressed by the producers, writers, and editors will always be presented as such. Any rebroadcast or retransmission without the express written consent of Helium Radio is strictly prohibited. Thanks for listening.